Hi, friends. Welcome you all back to your learning of economic survey. So, we'll start with chapter 7 today, regulatory forbearance, emergency medicine, not staple diet. Okay, so volume 1, economic survey, chapter 7. Now, what do you understand by regulatory forbearance? Before we look into why it should be emergency medicine, why not staple diet, and all that, let us first look into the meaning of this term regulatory forbearance. As you know, dictionary meaning of forbearance will be to have that control, that self control, restraint. This that is called forbearance. Now, what happens, my dear friends? It's as simple as this. The financial regulator in an economy, for example, in our case RBI, all right, in Indian economy's case, the you know the regulator at the top, as you know, my dear friends, especially in financial space, is RBI, correct? So the financial regulator, whenever there is crisis in an economy, whenever uh, conditions like the global financial crisis happened, or the COVID pandemic recently, okay, whenever conditions like that exist, what the central bank, or what the regulator does is it forbears. Okay, it goes for a policy of forbearance. Now, what do you understand by forbearance? What it is trying to do with it? It's trying to tell the banks, look, you already have stressed assets. For now, you may restructure them. Understand here. So you don't have to, for just the time being. Like, see, this is COVID-19 pandemic times. People may not be able to repay loans, or the global financial crisis way back in 2009 or 8. Okay. So a lot of people in economy may be constrained to make repayment of their loans. Therefore, I will follow policy of forbearance with you. With you means the banks and the financial institute. Banks. Okay. So I'm going to have this restraint on you, that you may not have to, uh, declare many of your assets which are right now not working because the economy is in crisis as NPS. Please do understand, my dear friends. What I'm trying to explain to you is very, very simple. All I'm trying to tell you is this, my dear friends. Here is RBI, here are the banks, okay, here is the overall economy. Fair enough. Okay. So RBI is the regulator. It will have to regulate the banks. Perfect. Now banks have lent lot of loans, yes or no? Now these loans that the banks have lent forms part of its assets, yes or no? Now, if the loans are not being repaid on time, or if at least the loans are not serviced on time, for example, the interest payments and all that is due to the banks, if it's not happening in time, then what are the banks supposed to do according to the regulation? They will have to, uh, you know, they will have to declare those assets as non-performing assets, and they will have to do some provisioning to these assets. Provisioning, which means some capital will have to be set aside to ward off the risk of default. If let's say that asset does not work, okay, if the loan gets defaulted, then you can use this capital. You can use this capital which was already set aside, assuming that that this uh, loan may be coming under default. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Perfect. Perfect, my dear friends. Thank you. Now, having said this, so generally this is the case. Generally, you need to declare uh, an asset as NPA if it is not working, if it's not performing, and you will have to do the provisioning. But then, when we go for a forbearance policy in regulation, forbearance policy, regulatory forbearance, what the RBI is trying to do is it's telling banks, okay, relax. I understand that assets are anyway going to become NPA, non-performing assets now. But then you don't have to declare it as such. Okay? You don't have to declare it as such, or even if you have to declare it like that, you don't have to do provisioning for now. You don't have to do provisioning for now. You don't have to set aside a portion of your capital to, uh, tackle the risk of default. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? So, what is forbearance trying to do? It's trying to increase the lendable resources with the bank. If RBI doesn't go for forbearance, then the amount of lendable resources from the bank will come down. When it comes down, again, see, the number one, banks suffer. Number two, the overall economy suffers because it's not getting loans for cheap. And if it doesn't get loans for cheap, how will you bring back the growth to the economy? Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? So, forbearance is required to revive the economy, especially in downturns like the COVID pandemic or the global financial crisis of 2009. In those times, we require forbearance. It's essential. Fair enough. So, whenever RBI goes for forbearance, it allows the banks to restructure their loans, restructure the loans, or refinance, debt restructuring, debt refinancing. Restructuring means the banks had lent uh, some resources. Okay, some of the loans that banks had given, now that can be restructured, which means what? The existing loan itself will be modified to increase the time period to pay back the principal amount, or increase the time period to pay the interest, or take off the late payment fees, such kind of things. So the loan is the same, you're only restructuring it. Understanding? Refinance, debt refinance is what? Debt refinances, you have given a loan to a company, it's not able to pay back, and that loan was at interest rate of 8%. Now what you're telling the company is, hey, look, I will give you some loan. Whatever loan I give to you, you repay the old loan to me, because I will have to take the loan out of my book now. Otherwise, it will become, I'll have to show it as non-performing asset. Therefore, whatever loan I give, see this loan that is existing right now, I will not restructure it. Rather, we'll close it. How we'll close it? I'll give you the loan myself. You repay that old loan to me. On this new loan, you pay interest, maybe even at a lesser interest rate. This is refinancing. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? So, this restructuring and refinancing can be done by banks when the stock of lendable resources with it is adequate. Perfect. Now, in normal times, it will be adequate, but in times of crisis, it may become very less, because as I just explained to you, there will be a lot of NPAs, non-performing assets, and lot of whatever resources are there that will have to be set aside for provisioning. Okay, provisioning is, that amount that you are setting aside to handle the risk of default. Fair enough. Okay, but what is forbearance doing? Forbearance is telling you, no, you don't have to set aside that. This is times of forbearance. Who is telling who? RBI is telling the banks. This is times of forbearance. So you don't have to set aside for now. It's okay. You may use up that resources as well to lend to people. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about? Don't you feel, my dear friends, crisis like situations, economic crisis will demand this kind of extraordinary interventions by the regulators, the financial regulators? Yes, it does. Correct. It's like an emergency medicine. Yeah, if you have to revive the economy, if you will have to bring out the economy from this crisis, it becomes very, very important to come up with to go for emergency medicines like forbearance. But when there is problem, when forbearance becomes a staple diet, instead of forbearance being an emergency medicine, if you start consuming it as staple diet, is when the problem comes, my dear friends. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Okay. Now that is exactly what has happened in Indian economy also. 2009, we had a crisis. 2008, 2009, the RBI, financial regulator, went for forbearance, regulatory forbearance, wherein it asked banks to go easy. Now so what should have actually happened? The businesses should have started to do well. Economy should have been put to proper shape again, which actually happened. By 2011-12, on many fronts, the economy was already doing well. Yeah, the index of industrial production has started to improve, my dear friends. You take anything, inflation was already getting ameliorated. The growth was again, you know entering into a better territory compared to the dip, the nose diving that had happened. So everything was just coming to shape. The demand for credit was actually increasing. When all these good things were happening, my dear friends, you know what the financial regulator should have done? Immediately stop the policy of forbearance. Immediately stop. Instead, you know what the financial regulator did? Maybe they are guided by hundreds of what do you call, my dear friends, considerations, okay, that I and you may not be able to appreciate sitting and learning economics from the level where we are learning, my dear friends, maybe to the extent of clearing an exam. But what see, the good, whether the policy was good or bad can only be judged in the hindsight, my dear friends, only by connecting backwards. Now here, sitting in standing in 2021, we are able to look back and say what RBI did on that day maybe was not the right thing to do. It extended the forbearance. Now this extension of forbearance had negative implications for banks, the firms that borrowed from these banks, and economy at large, my dear friends. It had negative implications for everyone. Okay. See, uh, survey actually talks about this early resolvers and late resolvers. People who went for a short period of forbearance, and when they started to see the economy doing well, they immediately removed all these, forbearance policies and allowed the economy to function properly. Then the late resolvers, like, India, who went for an extended period of forbearance and who saw their NPAs, non-performance, non-performing assets, peaking much later than it happened with the early resolvers like US. Are you connecting to what I'm see? In early resolvers case, what happened? NPAs peaked early. The number of non-performing assets peaked early and it quickly came down. In our case, it went on rising, reached peak much later, and also started to fall very, very late, my dear friends, which had very damaging effect on the economy. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? See why it happened like this. Let me explain to you, my dear friends. As simple as this. Now, what did the banks do when they were allowed to restructure? When they were allowed to restructure their loans as a part of forbearance policy, you know what they did? They restructured the loans. Whatever loans were there, they just restructured it, and they even refinanced. But then they, whatever resources was left with them, now they did not have to set it aside. They did not have to set aside a portion of them for provisioning. So what they should have done? They should have extended more loans and all that. No, they didn't do that. That's where the problem came, my dear friend. That's where the problem arose. Instead, you know what they did? They used that extra resources, and they use that extra resources to pay dividends to the equity holders of these banks, especially the privately managed banks, privately managed financial institutions. They found it as a opportunity to declare good amount of profits. And there was I mean, this was not exactly what had to happen at that time, my dear friends. See, the banks missed the bird for the bush. Why did the regulator extend the forbearance? There was a different reason. But what actually happened? Something very, very different. Now, look at here, whatever little resources was left, a lot of it was now being declared as dividends and shared among the equity holders. Equity holders gained. Now, these equity holders, survey points out, who anyway do not have much skin in the game. See, what is happening, my dear friends? They have nothing to lose. They have some investment, okay? And even if the loans are at default, they don't have much to lose. But then the depositors in the bank, people who have made this demand deposits, time deposits with the bank, uh, will definitely stand to lose. Okay, they stand to lose if there is, if more and more loans lent by the bank is a default, they stand to lose. And understand, if the banks are PSU banks, if they are government banks, then the burden is on the taxpayer, my dear friends, again, because anyway government is the owner of these banks, and government will have to take money from us and uh, refinance these banks or capitalize these banks. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? So what these fellows did, most banks, they lent it to firms which actually did not deserve the the already scarce resources that were there at the banks at that time. They did not deserve it, my dear friends. Survey talks about something called zombie lending or zombie lending. Now, zombie is that firm whose interest coverage ratio is less than 1. What do you understand by that? You take in the numerator profit after tax, my dear friends. You take in the denominator interest obligations, the interest obligations on all your loans. Okay, what is happening? If it is less than 1, the profit after tax divided by interest obligations, if it is less than 1, then what does it mean? Whatever profit you are making, it is not enough to even pay your interest. Now, do you deserve a loan when you are not able to pay, when you are not able to earn so much profit which is not even equal to pay your interest, yeah, satisfy your interest obligations? Then do you deserve a loan? You don't. But you know what, banks lent to such kind of firms in plethora, who were already, who already had a history of default with the same bank, but they had, good connections with the bank. They started getting lot of these resources. These people whose interest coverage ratio is less than 1, they're generally called as zombies. Got that? No, I'm trying. Fair enough, my dear friends. So obviously, guys, these guys won't repay, as you know. Plus, it led to so many problems on the firm's front also. It was not just a problem that was taking shape at the level of bank. It was not just a problem uh, that was becoming a headache to banks in the days to come, because they are lending to zombies. Again, there is risk of default. Not just that, plus the problem of banks, evergreening the loans to many of these firms. It was not just a problem there. The problem was also with the firms, because now in the management, those people who had good connections with the bank and they could get loans during this times of forbearance started to have more influence in the management. See, generally, how who are the people who should be preferred to take decisions in the management among the board of directors, people who follow prudence, people who follow economy, people who act in the best interests of stakeholders and other customers of banks and all that. But unfortunately, in this case, what was happening, those people in the management, who had these influential connections, crony kind of people, this these people started to gain prominence. And when these people started to gain prominence, slowly and eventually they could kick off all right-headed people from the management, bring in people who are close to them, yeah, their relatives, their friends, such kind of people. And as a whole, they started to corner all the resources of the bank that was actually meant for the economy if the policy of forbearance was to work. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Yeah. Not only, see, zombie lending sometimes can happen at the level of firms, my dear friends. For example, see, you are firm A, okay, and bank is not at all ready to lend to you because you have a super history of default. Now, what you would do, you'll ask the bank, okay, fine, no. If you are not willing to give me, it's fine. But in the same group, there is B, there is C, there is D. All this is actually under one umbrella, but they act, they just exist as independent firms. Now, either D or C getting the resources of the bank means all of them are getting it again. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Yeah. Now, just imagine, my dear friends, what should have happened to the NPA level in the economy, to the magnitude of NPA in the economy, to what extent it must have peaked. RBI, the financial regulator, which was looking into all these things, panicked like this, and immediately it wanted to do something about it. So it went for, even though it was already late by then, it went for asset quality review. These firms had invested in unviable projects. Bank had lent on all unviable projects. So many NPAs had mounted to an all-time high. RBI jumped into action, went for an asset quality review. But even during the asset quality review, RBI could not surface all the bad debts, even though it had realized one thing, that hey, forbearance extending till now was a major wrong thing. Even though RBI realized it, it couldn't do much, because even with asset quality review that it did, it only realized that yes, there is a deeper problem. There's so much more bad assets that is yet to surface. It realized this. But what was to be done? Are you connecting to what I'm talking about, my dear friends? Yeah. Again, you fall back on government. Government will have to capitalize. Again, the taxpayers' burden. Are you understanding, my dear friends, what I'm talking about? So basically, what survey is trying to tell you through all these things is very simple. Regulatory forbearance is important when there is crisis, but it should be used as an emergency medicine. It should be removed in just about 1 or 2 years, when whatever parameters has to improve in the economy, when they start to show signs of improvement, that medicine should be withdrawn. It shouldn't become staple diet. When it becomes staple diet, it will have all these long-term negative implications for the economy. Are you connecting to what I'm talking about? With this lesson being learned that regulatory forbearance should not be a staple diet, but it should be an emergency medicine, we conclude chapter number 7, my dear friends. Thank you so much, my dear friends, for learning. See you all in my next video with chapter 8.